So believe me, as president, I will go after the bad actors. And I will work to pass the first ever federal ban on price gauging on food. My plan will include new penalties for opportunistic companies that exploit crises and break the rules, and we will support smaller food businesses that are trying to play by the rules and get ahead. We will help the food industry become more competitive because I believe competition is the lifeblood of our economy. More competition means lower prices for you and your families.
This is my video update on this Sunday afternoon, August the 18th. Let's talk about some news. And let's start things off with a Washington Post article which claims that Russia and Ukraine were about to sign an agreement where each side would stop going after the energy infrastructure of the other side. In other words, Russia would agree to stop going after the energy infrastructure of Ukraine, which is near collapse. And Ukraine is very worried, according to this Washington Post article. Ukrainian officials are very worried that if Russia does go after the energy infrastructure this winter, then the whole thing is just going to fall apart, and Ukraine may not be able to make it through the winter. So in this agreement, Russia had said that they would not go after the energy infrastructure of Ukraine, and Ukraine agreed to stop trying to create a nuclear meltdown in Zaporozhye, the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant, and I guess now we're talking about the Kursk NPP as well. But that was the agreement, according to the Washington Post. And this was 2 months in the making. There were 2 months of secret negotiations, according to the WaPo. And then Elensky and the Ukraine military, they launched their Kursk incursion, and the entire deal fell apart. So I imagine the agreement was probably for Ukraine to stop trying to shell the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant, and in return, Russia would stop going after the energy infrastructure of Ukraine. And then Ukraine entered Kursk, and they started to go after the Kursk NPP, and the whole deal fell apart. That is what the Washington Post is reporting. That's an interesting deal, huh? Russia to stop going after the energy infrastructure, and I guess an admission from Ukraine in a way that they have been going after the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant, even though the narrative that the collective West was spinning was that Russia was shelling their own NPP, which was ridiculous. But the collective West and the Elensky regime kept on insisting Russia is shelling the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant, and the IAEA, for its part, they wouldn't say anything about Ukraine going after the Zaporozhye NPP. The IAEA would just come out with statements along the lines of we call on both sides to not escalate and to protect the nuclear power plant. The IAEA would never lay the blame on Ukraine, even though it was obvious that Ukraine was shelling the NPP in Zaporozhye. But that's the agreement that was being brokered by Qatar. And Ukraine is very worried, according to the Washington Post, that this winter, if Russia does decide to go after their energy infrastructure, that the whole thing is just gonna crumble, and Ukraine may not make it through the winter. So NBC, they are reporting that the United States knew about Ukraine's incursion into Kursk for over a year. This is what NBC is reporting. The New York Times said the same thing in an article the other day. So the collective West media is now reporting about how the U.S. was aware of some sort of planned incursion into Russian territory, but they want us to believe that they knew Ukraine wanted to go into Russia, but they just weren't sure about the details and the timing of it all. That's what they want us to believe. So that's the article from NBC News. Let's see, do they say anything that's interesting in this article? The article says the question now is how long Ukraine wants to and can hold on to an area under its control in Kursk region without sacrificing more of its own eastern heartland. Because the article from NBC says that the Kursk operation is a high-stakes gamble by the Ukrainian authorities. So the article asks the question, for how long can Ukraine hold on to Kursk, the areas in Kursk that they claim to be controlling? I can answer that question. Not very long. Give it another week or two. If you define what Ukraine is doing as controlling territory, then give it another week or two, or maybe three, and it'll be game over for Ukraine in Kursk, and it's going to be game over for Ukraine in Donbass, because this high stakes gamble, which is what NBC News describes the Kursk incursion as, was a bad bet. A very, very bad bet by the Ukraine military. Never gamble. Never, ever gamble, because the house always wins, man. You're going to lose. The house always wins. And so in Donbass, things are going really, really bad for the Elensky regime. Let me stabilize the camera. One sec. In Toretsk, very fortified town, Russia is starting to storm this area. A very difficult area to capture, because it's very, very fortified, very tough to take Toretsk. But we are getting reports that the storming of Toretsk has begun. In Pokrovsk, we are getting more and more reports that Russia is controlling pretty much all of or most of the surrounding area around Pokrovsk, as it looks like they're going to begin the storming of Pokrovsk very soon. In Chasov Yar, Russia continues to make gains in that direction. In Kupiansk, continue to make gains even towards the Kupiansk direction. A direction on the front line which was always difficult for Russia, at least over the past couple of years. But all of Donbass is crumbling. So a high-stakes gamble that absolutely failed for the Zelensky regime. And we're getting a lot of videos and images of Ukrainian soldiers in the Kursk area surrendering to Russia. Just surrendering, because they have nowhere to go. They're wandering around the Kursk area. The Russian military, they're picking off all of these groups of Ukrainian soldiers, which are rattling around, as Alexander says, rattling around Kursk. The Russian military is picking them off, and the soldiers are now surrendering. We're getting a lot of videos and a lot of images of Ukrainian soldiers surrendering to Russia. From the Kiev Independent, nuclear safety at Zaporozhye plant deteriorating after reported drone strike, IAEA warns. Nuclear power plants are designed to be resilient, but they are not built to withstand a direct military attack. Well, the IAEA should say where the direct military attack is coming from. Where is it coming from? They don't want to say. They don't want to say that Ukraine is trying to cause a nuclear meltdown. Just say it, man. Grossi. What's the guy's name? Grossi? Just say it. Ukraine is trying to cause a nuclear meltdown. You can't have him say that, can you? The collective West can't have him say that. That would be bad. That would look bad. The side that the U.S. is sponsoring, the proxy in this war, is now trying to destroy a nuclear power plant. That's what the Kiev Independent is reporting. The Kiev Independent also put out a fairly long article which talks about the operation in Kursk and how the operation in Kursk has improved the morale of the Ukraine military in that region. But according to the Kiev Independent, I'm taking all this news from the Kiev Independent, so this is Elensky propaganda. But they're saying that the Ukraine soldiers on the Donbass front line struggle to see the future when so many of their friends have been killed. That is what the Kiev Independent is reporting from this very long article that they put out the other day. In France, on one of the news shows, they had a video of Ukraine soldiers. I believe this was the video of the Ukraine military, and they found a pensioner, and they were making fun of the pensioner, and then the pensioner disappeared. A Russian pensioner in Kursk. And I believe he turned up. And he's alive and well. At least I think I read that. But he disappeared for a couple of weeks or 10 days or something like that. But the Ukraine military, they were making fun of him. I think this is the video. Maybe I'm wrong about it. But in the video, you can see that one of the Ukraine military guys has an SS on his helmet. And the French commentators from this news show, they were shocked. They were shocked that they saw some of this NAZI insignia, this NAZI stuff on the helmet of a Ukrainian soldier. They couldn't believe it, the French commentators. They have no idea who they're sponsoring, do they? That's what they want us to believe. They have no idea who they're sponsoring. I thought it was just Russian propaganda. Anyway. What else do I have to talk about in Ukraine? Boris Johnson, he put out his Daily Mail article talking about the amazing Kursk incursion. So now we have the Ghost of Kiev, we have Snake Island, we have the great Kherson counteroffensive, we have the great Kharkiv counteroffensive, and now we have the great Kursk incursion. And Boris Johnson wrote an article for the Daily Mail, Bojo the Clown, and he talked about how the collective West must absolutely give more weapons and more money and permission to Ukraine to use those weapons, specifically the long-range missiles, to hit deep inside of Russian territory, because according to Boris Johnson, Ukraine can absolutely win, and Kursk has shown that Ukraine can win. And if the great military mind of Bojo the Clown says that Ukraine can win, well then, Ukraine can win. Boris Johnson, he knows his stuff, especially when it comes to military strategy. Bojo the Clown. I think he did win Clown of the Year. I think he won the first year of Clown of the Year awards. I think it went to Boris Johnson. So yeah, he absolutely knows what he's talking about. So he put out his article in the Daily Mail. I will not link to that article down below. Well, maybe I'll link to it if you guys want to have a good laugh. But that's Boris Johnson. The Wall Street Journal, they put out an article behind Ukraine's Russia invasion, secrecy, speed, and electronic jamming. Ukraine was jamming Russia. It was fast and it was secret. The U.S. knew about it for a year, according to the New York Times and NBC, but they just didn't have the details because it was so super duper secret. Because if there's one thing we've learned from the conflict in Ukraine, if there's one thing that we have learned over these last 2 years about the Elensky regime, it's that they know how to keep their mouth shut. Right? Elensky, they know, his entire regime, they know how to keep something secret, even from the United States. So we are getting reports that Germany just doesn't have any more money for Project Ukraine. They want to give more money to Project Ukraine, and they're going to give over some more weapons in December of 2024. At least they announced a new weapons package, but they're running out of money. They just don't have the money anymore. Germany's in a recession. They've been demilitarized, or they're about to be demilitarized. They've been deindustrialized, absolutely. And the whole Nord Stream thing has humiliated Olaf Scholz and his green traffic light coalition. And now we are getting reports from German media that there's no more money. No money, no honey. So this is what German media is reporting. No more new money for Ukraine, according to the current budget planning of the Traffic Light Coalition. Only military aid that has already been approved may be delivered to Kiev, according to FAS information. Finance Minister Lindner informed the Ministry of Defense of this. Zelensky's going to be pretty upset when he gets wind of this news from Germany. He is going to be very upset. You know who Elensky is very upset with? I'm going to tell you who Elensky is very, very upset with. What country? Take a guess what country has pissed off Elensky. And it's not Russia. It's not the Putin. The Putin. I'm upset with the Putin. Nope. Nope. Elensky is very upset with... I'm very upset with the UK. Yep, the UK. Zelensky's mad at the UK because he wants more money and more weapons, and the UK is not giving him more money and more weapons because the UK has been demilitarized, and Zelensky's very, very upset with the UK. Let's read about Zelensky's anger with Britain. Ukraine's Elensky has said that his administration will insist that its Western allies take further bold steps to support Kiev's war effort, singling out the UK as a country that once showed real leadership, but is now falling behind. Elensky said the long-range capabilities of our forces are the answer to all the most important, to all the most strategic issues of this year, Elensky said. He promised to intensify our diplomatic work with the US, UK, France, and other partners to remove any barriers on using the arms. In particular, we have seen throughout this war that the United Kingdom has shown real leadership in weaponry, in policies, and in supporting the life of Ukrainian society. This is what reflects the strength of the United Kingdom, Elensky claimed. But now, unfortunately, the situation has slowed down. We will discuss how to fix this because long-range capabilities are a matter of principle for us. We will insist on the need for bold steps, bold decisions. We need things that truly change the course of the war, leading it to a just peace, he said, referring to his so-called peace formula, which Moscow has repeatedly dismissed as detached from reality. As detached from reality. Zelensky's upset with the UK. Everybody that's watching from the UK, you guys were once showing real leadership. That's right, the UK once showed real leadership with Project Ukraine, but now you all are just falling behind. According to Elensky, you're falling behind, and Elensky is going to insist. He is going to insist that the UK give over more weapons and whatever money it has. He wants long-range missile capabilities because that's the wonder weapon, right? The long-range missiles. That's what's going to do the trick. The long-range missiles and the F-16s. The F-16s and the long-range missiles. Once Lindsey Graham can find some pilots, some ex-NATO pilots, retired NATO pilots to fly those F-16s, and once Zelensky gets the long-range missiles from the UK, then it's game over for Russia. Game over, man. Game over, according to Elensky. So I think that's all the news for today that I'm going to talk about. I'll make this video a short one for this Sunday afternoon here in beautiful Paphos, Cyprus. We'll finish things off with the clown world and check out this cover from, I think this is the New York Post. One sec. I think it's a cover from the NY Post. Yeah. Communism. Harris unveils budget-breaking $1.7 trillion economic plan that includes government price controls. Yeah, everyone's talking about Kamala Harris's economic plan, which is all about dealing with company price gouging or whatever she calls it. I think she used a different word, gauging or gouging, or she mispronounced it. I forgot what she said, but anyway, it's all about price controls and stuff like that, because Kamala Harris can't come out and say that the reason everything is so expensive is not because companies are jacking up prices, but because of inflation. And why is there inflation? Well, one of the reasons is all the money from injected into the economy from the coup. And the other reason why there is so much inflation in the United States and the world, which is something they will never admit, is because of the sanctions against Russia. Yeah, they'll never say that though. So instead, the Kamala campaign is talking about price controls. That's how she's going to fix everything. And so they're saying that this is communism, but they're calling it communism. Kamala communism. Oh man, that's the clown world, everybody. By the way, Trump, he is it looks like he's going to be seeking the advice, the help from Tulsi Gabbard for his debate with Kamala Harris, which is a good idea, because we all remember what Tulsi Gabbard did to Kamala when they debated. Anyway, aloe vera. This is aloe vera, I think, right here. If you ever get a cut and you're in Cyprus, you just snap off a piece of this aloe vera and it cures everything, man. Amazing stuff. Miracle stuff. Yeah. Aloe vera. All right, that's the video. The Duran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, ODYSEE, BitChute, Telegram, Rockfin, and Twitter X. And go to the Duran shop. Pick up some merch like this limited edition t-shirt that I am wearing today. I will put a link in the description box down below. Take care.